Okay, let's start with a really wild thought. What if the laws of physics aren't, well, laws? What if they're more like a choice? Today, we're diving deep into a truly mind-bending idea that connects two of the absolute strangest concepts in physics, but in a way you've probably never heard before. So yeah, let's dig right into that. Are the laws of physics a choice? I want you to picture this, a library, but it's infinite, and every single book in there describes a totally different universe with its own unique set of laws. Now, what if some principle picked our book, our universe, right off that infinite shelf? All right, to really get this, we've got to introduce the two main characters in this story. First up, you've probably heard of this one, the Many Worlds Interpretation, or MWI. The basic idea is that every time a quantum event could go one way or another, the universe actually splits. So yeah, there's a universe where you took that job and another one where you didn't. One where you turned left this morning and one where you turned right. It's this enormous, ever-growing cosmic tree with just a staggering number of branches. Okay, so that's player number one. Now meet player number two, superdeterminism. And this idea is, well, it's the total opposite. It says that everything, and I mean everything, from the Big Bang right down to you watching this, was set in stone from the very beginning. There's only one path, one story. So you can already see the conflict, right? If Many Worlds says every possibility happens, then what's the point of superdeterminism, which says only one thing can ever happen? It feels redundant. It's like having a choose-your-own-adventure book where every single choice leads to the exact same page. And that right there is the fundamental problem. It seems totally pointless. If all the outcomes are going to happen anyway in some branch, what is there for these hidden variables in superdeterminism to even decide? It really feels like these two ideas just can't work together. But what if we've been looking at this whole thing completely backwards? See, the standard picture of Many Worlds is, well, it's just a full-on chaotic infinity. It's this idea that every possible branch exists. Anything that can happen does happen somewhere in that giant, messy multiverse. It's a total cosmic free-for-all. But what if there's an underlying order to it all? What if it's not just chaos? And this is where the big twist comes in. The new idea is this. What if our reality, our multiverse, isn't the entire chaotic mess of all possibilities? What if it's just one very specific, consistent slice of that infinity? Think of it like a painter who has an infinite palette of colors, literally every color imaginable. But to create a beautiful, coherent masterpiece, they only choose a very specific set of colors that work together. That's what this new idea suggests superdeterminism is doing. It's not dictating every event, it's selecting the entire palette for our reality. So this completely changes the job description for hidden variables. In this new model, they aren't these little local things flipping a coin at every quantum fork in the road. No. They're more like the global architect's blueprint for the entire multiverse. They're not deciding individual outcomes moment to moment, they're determining the entire grand design, which patterns of infinity are actually allowed to exist in the first place. Okay, so how does this actually work? How do you build a universe by design? Well, you start with the raw material, an infinite set of all possible branching multiverses, the whole shebang. Then you apply a constraint. The hidden variables act as a kind of filter, a set of rules. And what makes it through that filter? Only one single, structured, and consistent infinite design. And that's our reality. So, what are the big consequences of thinking this way? Well, there are a few huge ones. First, physical laws stop being just rules of behavior and start being measure selection rules, rules that literally prune the tree of possibilities. Second, the hidden variables are now in charge of the entire global structure, not just tiny local events. And third, and this is the big one, the two theories are no longer redundant. MWI provides the raw material, all the branches, and superdeterminism elegantly picks the entire tree. Okay, but this brings up a whole new puzzle, right? If there are all these different worlds, why do we experience probabilities the way we do? Why do quantum events seem to follow such specific statistical rules? Why is it that we can calculate the odds of something happening and be right so often? This leads us straight to something called the Born rule. So here's the thing. This is a famous headache in standard many worlds theory, often called the measure problem. The theory itself doesn't naturally explain why we observe the probabilities we do. The Born rule, which is the mathematical formula we use to calculate those probabilities, basically has to be added on by hand. It just feels tacked on. It's kind of like a software patch for reality. And physicists, well, they really don't like patches. And this is the real intellectual payoff. This is where it all clicks together so beautifully. In this new combined model, the Born rule is no longer a patch. It's not something we add on. It becomes a structural consequence of the theory itself. Probability is no longer this weird, subjective thing about how many copies of you see what. No, it becomes an objective fact about which kinds of multiverses are allowed to exist in the first place.
I mean, this really is the key takeaway here. It's about shifting the Born rule from being an interpretive patch to being a cosmic selection law. It's a huge promotion for the Born rule. It goes from being a footnote to being a headline. So let's just boil it all down one last time. The old way of thinking? The Born rule is about our experience inside the multiverse. It's a rule for observers. The new view proposed here? The Born rule is about which multiverse is even allowed to exist to begin with. It's a fundamental principle of reality itself. And this leaves us with just one final, absolutely mind-bending thought to chew on. If our entire reality, this vast, intricate multiverse, is just one possible infinite design that was selected, what other designs are out there? What other cosmic blueprints, consistent with their own unique sets of laws, could exist? What other unimaginable realities are just waiting in that infinite library? The possibilities are quite literally endless.